Namaste. Welcome to Wise Owl Career Guide. Today we have Mr. Gyanesh Singh with us, who's been working in the field of finance for more than 20 years now. Let's hear from him what is his journey been like and what is his specialization. Namaste, sir. Welcome to Wise Owl.
Thanks. Yeah, it's my pleasure that you invited me here. So yeah, thanks. Actually, if I have to start my this professional things, I will start from my education. So basically, I'm
Sure, sir.
commerce graduate, and I did my uh, graduation from Gorakhpur University, and then
Hmm.
after I moved to Mumbai for pursuing my CA course, and
Okay.
that I did my chartered accountancy, and during that period I did many other finance certification related to stock exchange. Then in
Hmm.
insurance I did mutual
Okay.
fund as well, so I have that registration and some sort of agency dealership, so that I can work as a mutual fund agent and insurance, as well as on the derivative and capital market as well. So
Okay.
that the thing educational part I did, and later on I moved to IT and did my SAP certification. And since
Okay.
then, yeah, and since then I'm in IT field, working in I worked in Gensar, then TCS, and then serving global clients on this particular
So,
ERP.
sir, your CA and then your SAP, how did this combination work? So, if I were to ask you right from your first job after your certification, what was the role like?
So, means first job means I started with my CA thing. So basically, my all exposure, everything belongs to accounts, audit, and then finance area. So I started from that side, and
Hmm.
then actually, how I moved to IT, I would say when I was doing my audit thing. So in CA, basically, whenever we do audit, you will find when room is fully loaded with lot of files and vouchers and all these things, and then we do audit,
Right.
verify these vouchers with whatever the ledger posted in the system. So in that way we normally do in the traditional way. And then in that period I realized that after means few years, slowly and slowly, in few companies, multinational company and a public listed company also, they
Hmm.
move to ERP actually. So
Okay.
yeah, so different ERP, whether it's PeopleSoft, SAP, Oracle, Finance. And then
Hmm.
in that, when I go for audit purpose, so they say, okay, if you have to do audit, we will give you some sort of training, how to run the system, how you can check on your own, and everything
Hmm.
is online. You don't need
Okay.
to go and see in the traditional way all these hard copies and then do the
You
audit.
don't have to sit between piles of files and
Yeah,
files.
yeah, correct. And then,
Okay.
but you should be this software savvy, so that at least you know where to go, how to run the report, how to check. And then if you have any audit specific requirement, then you can tell us. We will tell our technical team to develop those reports, or from our technical team we will deliver those things, so that at least you can check. So that thing somehow means appealed me, that okay, it looks quite interesting. And then
Hmm.
actually in that conversation I realized that many things, for example, when I demand something, that okay, I have to verify whatever I can find in the system, that one is not sufficient enough. I need some more technical analysis and some details.
Hmm.
So for that they have to develop the report and all these things based on the need. And
Okay.
then I have to interact with their technical team as well. So I find sometimes there is a gap, because the technical people who means basically purely technical background. So
Right.
sometimes there is communication gap, means what is the functional requirement as a accountant I have, and
Hmm.
what type of information I need, and the technical who just person who is just expertise in the coding. So there is
Hmm.
gap, and then they have to approach to their senior who is having some functional background, so they
Right.
can translate what I'm demanding. They translate, and then the technical guys work. So
Okay.
at that time I noticed that there is demand and there is space actually here in this particular field, so that if we
Mm-hmm.
have means functional people, they can easily understand, they can easily translate the business requirement into the software, and that will means serve the purpose. It's good for business, also good for the person who is auditing or consuming the data. So
Right.
that way I means move to that software line.
Okay. So, sir, the entire experience of what you had imagined after your certification and the courses that, my first job would be like, whatever the imagination was of a fresher after all the studies, was it close to the reality of what the job turned out to be? But there were a lot of disconnects.
No, I don't think there is a disconnect. In fact, it's something more than that. Means if I see my this before coming to IT, my accounts field. So in that, the more focus I had on the accounts, audit, and then tax. This is the area where we have more work. But
Right.
later on in my that journey, I noticed I get opportunity to work in the means finance, and then in the capital market also. So that
Mm-hmm.
on top of that, so that was quite good. I would say I was lucky enough to get that exposure as well. And
Mm-hmm.
later on when I moved to IT, so in that means yeah, whatever we are taught in the courses,
Mm-hmm.
things in that sense little vary. Means we have to be more, it's a theoretical knowledge, and we have to just see something different business requirement. But the best
Right.
part is that we means interacted lot with business people, capture their requirement, how these things
Mm-hmm.
work, and then later on I get overseas opportunity also. So that
Okay.
was totally means altogether different experience. So
Mm-hmm.
went outside, understand the different means people in different culture, different global companies, and then how
Right.
they see, and they have to report under the different means local legal requirements, some international requirements. So all these exposures actually very means enriching, I would say. So in
Okay.
fact, what I was expecting, it's something more than that, I would say.
Okay. So, sir, usually people who are doing CA, the first thought or process is to either join a CA firm or start your own CA firm. And you having your mutual fund certification, insurance certification, what made you decide to, get into the corporate auditing work instead of starting your own CA firm?
Yeah, so basically means what I observe that means I would say all these areas are equally good. Means
Hmm.
it's just depend who gets chance in which area. All these things are equally good.
Absolutely.
But the thing is, I notice at that point of time, if I will go for a CA firm, means
Hmm.
if I start my own practice, and also there is some sort of means gestation period, I would say that
Yes.
in the starting, and it's means understood and quite common also that if we start our any profession, anything, then there would be some period where we have to establish ourselves. So, and at that point of time, in fact, I was not ready for that, to
Hmm.
start and wait for such period. So I just started whatever things comes on my way. And but these area means where people do start their work and means do in their own practice. So that anyway
Hmm.
means that part I experienced when I was doing working in CA firm and all. So And even when I was doing in this investment line, so it is all this in combination of that. So for example, if
Okay.
there is any particular client, I have to look into
Hmm.
his her account as well, then suggest for tax things, then suggest for investment, suggest for insurance. So it's
Right.
complete package actually where I have to work. But
Okay.
later on, I get more things in this
Corporate
ERP
world.
thing, yeah, and that
Okay.
fascinated me how these things working, and something little different what we do at that time day to day. And
Right.
later on when I entered into that, then after I couldn't get chance to rethink, I just I'm continuing in that.
Okay. So, sir, what are the opportunities for a person who's done his CA and these ERP and SAP courses in the corporate world, the finance department? What are the various kinds of profiles that they can work in?
Yeah, so normally means after completing CA, there is a wide opportunity. Means people normally go in corporate, in means in accounts section, in audit also, and then
Okay.
in fact in finance where all these capital market, debt market. So in that research, insurance sector. So all these area, as I mentioned, good. But particularly if we go into software where we have to design something and we have immediately we have to start conversation with the business, and because ERP is also little means a costly product. So normally all these
Okay.
big companies use it. So we have to, and multinational companies. So they we have to start different sort of conversation, note down their problems and how we can do some sort of this cost benefit analysis for all these things. So if
Hmm.
anyone is having some functional background earlier, then it would be
Okay.
easy. So even if
Okay.
somebody wants to go into ERP line or software line, there is no
Mhm.
problem. They can start. Many people start, in fact, from their first job as well. But still, I
Okay.
feel that if people have some functional experience earlier, and
Hmm.
then they join these software, then it's good for them. Means it's easy
Okay.
actually. Otherwise,
Okay.
again, there would be some struggle to understand the things. So that they
Hmm.
can means overcome if they spend some time in the business and accounts audit and something they understand how these things works, then it would be easy to translate into the software.
Okay. So you've had exposure to international market as well. You've worked in Europe, you've worked in US as well. How easy it is for freshers to get jobs in Europe or US in the finance segment?
In directly, if one has to go, means yeah, means in international market without experience, I would say it's quite difficult. So
Okay.
the means viewer we have in India, means it's better first to get some sort of command and control, whatever things
Mm-hmm.
we are working, and then
Okay.
based on that, things are open. People can just explore nowadays through LinkedIn, and there are many other sites. So
Mm-hmm.
they just update their profile based on experience. Then people all around the world can see the resume and then arrange the call. But
Okay.
directly for fresher, I don't think it would be means easy or there is any possibility. But yeah, there is good opportunity within country, and then yeah, and based on that they can explore.
Okay. So, sir, what are the kind of packages that the freshers can expect if they have the knowledge of, let's say, ERP and SAP after completing their CA? The entry level jobs, have the packages increased or they are at, what they were, let's say, 10 years back?
Though I think in the initial, I would say, means it's whatever the industry trend we have, it's goes with that. And now, in fact, CA Institute also initiated these SAP courses, ERP courses, so that at
Okay.
least people who are doing CA, they have that the familiarity and they some savviness they get on the ERP side. But yeah, means as a beginner, I would say this package range is 8 to 10
Okay.
lakhs. Yeah, so that it start with. But yeah, then there is, if people get some good experience and all, then there is exponential growth also. So then after, once the people work after that, based on the experience and how much interest they show in the product, based on
Hmm.
that, means these things increased drastically. And yeah, so it all depends on how the exposure and experience they get, and that actually matters at the end.
Sir, when you yourself are hiring, or, when the hiring is done for freshers in the field of finance, especially in the audit field, what is the kind of qualities that you see? Apart from the knowledge, yes, but at a certain level, for a fresher, the knowledge would be the same for everybody. But what are the other kind of qualities that help them get a job?
Yeah, means at least in whether it's in audit side, or even because nowadays I take more interview in software things, but that
Okay.
also it's consulting only, right? Means
Hmm.
so the thing is, knowledge is one thing. Knowledge can be gained if people are ready. They can put some effort, spend some time in the system. They can get. But yeah, the key thing, what I suggest also, the junior I interact and even I observe while interviewing other people, that means they should have some consulting approach or mentality. It little bit
Okay.
deviating from the BPO type of work, where you have
Okay.
the fixed SOP and you have to just blindly follow what you are told. But
Hmm.
so that type of thing uh, will not be working, and even if it is working, it will not take anyone to some higher point. If somebody has
Okay.
to grow in these area, then as a consultant we always have to, means there is no challenge what I'm doing, and
Hmm.
ask the question. We shouldn't hesitate in asking the question that, okay, if somebody tells me that I have to do this thing in the system or do something, then it's fair enough to ask that what benefit you will get after doing this. If I don't do, then what things what
Will
means
get
this
affected.
disadvantage, yeah, you are getting. So
Hmm.
with that conviction only we should work. When we are convinced that, okay, if I'm doing something, then I'm
Hmm.
giving some better thing in day to day working of that team or group or department.
Hmm.
So that type of attitude is must actually, so that at least
Okay.
people continuously challenge themselves and at least eager to know what I'm doing
Hmm.
and what is the end result, what I'm doing.
Okay. Sir, if you were to give one tip to the freshers to be able to, succeed, what would be that one tip, one thing that they should, always follow as a mantra, and that would help them reach heights in their career?
I mentioned this one and I would insist this one only, means there are any other things can be suggested, but I think this is the thing I recommend everyone, that whenever we are doing anything or we are told, no need to be shy to ask question that
Okay.
why should his senior he's telling me, then I should just do it. We shouldn't
Hmm.
so that thing works fine in some area of our work where we,
Hmm.
I mentioned BPO work, but in consulting area we should always convince ourselves why I am doing. If I'm convinced that, okay, it is giving benefit to organization, to are making some improvement in day working of thing, then only
Hmm.
we should go ahead. So with that sort of mentality only, if we work, then it is I think rewarding to everyone involved in that process.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us and sharing your insights. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
So, this was Mr. Ganesh Singh sharing with us his journey of how he completed his CA and then got into various kind of audit softwares. Today, the need for these softwares to, eliminate big, bulky files is increasing with companies going global. The need for having the systems is far higher. And if you're a CA, there is this line in the corporate world of audit and various other roles that he spoke about that can be a option for you rather than just being a traditional CA. What he said that if you're getting into consultancy and audit, you need to remember that you have to ask questions. Every action that you're taking, you have to analyze whether it is something which is going to be beneficial for your own organization and the client that you're working with. If you have that kind of an attitude, you will succeed in the field of consultancy, and not just financial consultancy, but any kind of consultancy work that you get in. Once you have a few years of experience, getting an international job or international exposure will also become easier for you. So I hope you had some kind of learning out of this entire conversation. If you have any questions, do write below in the comments and we'll get back to you. Also, do like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.